going to be looking at Tim Holtz, that is. Actually, you say Tim, you know who I mean, but it's Tim's Village Collection. Now this is such a special set of dies, 87 dies in total. And today, we're going to be looking at how to make this spooky mansion. Now I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and ideas on how to get the best out of this. We're not going to take it absolutely from start to finish because, well, we'd be here for 3-4 hours, quite frankly. But that's what we're going to do. And what you'll notice with the mansion as well, if I take it underneath, we've got lights going on in there as well. So if you can get hold of some of those, more the better. So let's just put it to one side for a second, because I want to show you the best place to start is by showing you what you will need to cut. And here we have it. So you've got the two main sets of walls, and you can see that I've pre-cut the apertures in here over which to put the frames. Now, there are two different sets. This one has a porch on it, so that's the front of the house. Then we've got all our window frames there. We've got two sets of door frames. We've got a porch. Then we have the roof, and there are two roof toppers. Now, there's one set of tiles there, roofing tiles. You probably need to cut maybe up to a dozen to complete the whole house. And then we have the porch. Now, that's the base structure. Then for the mansion part, the top part, you're going to need to cut this piece. Again, you can see I pre-cut the aperture for the window. Then these are the four different elements to make the top of the roof. More tiles again. Then we've got this lovely railing detail, two of those. They come on the same die. Window frame. This is the top of the roof, and we're going to need 4 chimneys. So there are 2 short fat chimneys and 2 tall thin chimneys. Now you notice the window frames I've used. Of course, we do have a tremendous amount of options at our disposal, and this is just some of them. Look at all these different window frames. There's round, there's oval, there's church windows, there's tall windows, there's some with shutters on them as well. So you've got all these options to create the type of house that you're going for, and you can use as many or as few as you wish. But let's take you from start to finish and show you how to make the first cut. Now, something that I recommend is using these wonderful sticky grid sheets. If you have a spare cutting plate, they are absolutely perfect, not only for what I'm about to do, but if you want to lay alphabet dies out in a straight line and you want to get them perfectly straight, then this is one of the best products out there to enable you to do that, or anything that needs perfect registration. The reason being that this holds them in place because it does have a very low tack finish. So it's not going to grip onto your cardstock too much, but it's going to hold the dies in place, and that is the crucial part. So I'm reaching across, and this is going to be the main building. Now what I'm going to do, you'll notice I'm ensuring that it sits on the grid. And you'll see what I've done is I've got this line coming down the center. This is a die for the doors and windows. You can use whatever you please. I'm just going to use this one for now. And finally, this tall church window. So when I get at about the same level, but I've got the grid, so I know that I'm going to be there or thereabouts, and we'll put that in place. Now, at the same time, I could also do the top of the mansion while I'm here. So I'll put that in place and then place this window just at the top there. So that's all I need to do for now. We'll put that card in place and make sure as well, we can make sure it's stuck down so that we get that perfect register every time. Same with this one. That's down and in place. So that's ready to go. All I need to do now is take my big shot machine and we'll place this onto the platform. So we're using the full platform for this, and then take one of the other cutting plates and wind it through. Now, of course, by using that sticky grid sheet, I know that I'm going to get that registration. I know that they're not going to slip out and go all wonky on me, which is one of the worst things that could happen, quite frankly. So let's take that away. There's the base, then this is the main structure for our mansion, and all I need to do at this point is simply lift away that. You see, it's ready to go with the window cut perfectly in the center. And here is half of the base of our house. Now let's put those to one side, because obviously everything here has crease lines in. So we've got this tab, the crease between the walls, then these little tabs themselves, which will come in very handy when we go to attach our roof and our porch. But I'm going to just push those around like so, and then I'm going to take my Sizzix Fold and Form tool, a very handy tool if you're making lovely big florals or even small ones, but it's also a great folder and creaser. So if I want to get really tight, sharp folds on the tabs and on the side of the walls, this is the way to go. And then we'll make sure that that's parallel. Just make that fold, and you'll see those creases are now absolutely pin sharp. And of course, we would do the same with that one. Now, what I'm going to do to get some texture on these walls, there are several things. Now, you can emboss these, and there are 3 folders which come separate from the set, but you can buy these individually should you wish. We have mini timber, we have mini brickwork, and mini cobblestone. And let's look at those. We've got a couple of lovely boards here to show you. So we've got timber, cobblestone, and brickwork, perfectly sized for these wonderful dies. And look at what happens when we use some dry brushing. And we're going to be looking at dry brushing later, and we're looking to get the best texture on our buildings, but I'm not going to be using any of these with this one. There's a reason for that, and you'll see in a little while, but it's just good to know that you have them as an option. But if you did wish to use it, let's take the timber for a start, for example, rather. And what I need to do first is I'm going to spritz. This is just clean water. That's Tim's Distress Sprayer or Vaporizer. And so what that does, it allows the fibers of the card to stretch. So when you're using these 3D embossing folders, you want the fibers to stretch so you get a really deep, super crisp emboss. I'm going to do it one wall at a time rather than do the whole thing. So let's put that to one side, and I'll take my platform again. Now, with the 3D embossing folder, you need your base platform and you need a cutting blade. So I'm going to slide that into place, take my machine, and then run it through. So we usually say with 3D embossing folders that twice, maybe even 3 times, to get that really deep, clean emboss that we've become so used to with these wonderful folders. And there we have it. Now, wow, look at that. Check out, look at the depth of detail in that. Every little crease is coming through. It's absolutely fantastic. Imagine that with the brickwork or the cobblestone. Exactly the same. And it's spritzing with water, which really gives you that depth of detail. So we'll put that to one side. Let's talk about the construction of our house. And I've got my wall. So there's the first one that we did. The second one, this is the one without the porch on it. This one has another church window, tall church window in the side. For today, I'm actually going to use quite a bit. I'm going to use my hot glue gun. So what I want to make sure that I do is line this up on the grid of my Sizzix cutting mat before applying a little hot glue to this tab. Now you can use double-sided tape, you can use our wonderful permanent adhesive roller. I'm going to place that down and make sure that they're both parallel with this line, because when I come to put it together, which I'm doing like this, so I'm not kind of holding it and trying to fiddle with it too much. I'm actually going to lay it down flat so that I know that meets up with the tab. And again, tab on the other side, just apply a little streak of hot glue. Make sure that's absolutely parallel, and then there we have it. Now, the hot glue, of course, it's instant. So if I was using PVA, I'd still be holding this now, and you don't want to watch me doing that. So I'm going to open that door just ever so slightly to let the light come out if I'm using lights later on. But that's the main structure of our base building. Now, the roof. This is the roof, and this is the porch. Now, you'll notice, normally I would use my adhesive roller with this, but I put this double-sided tape on so you can see exactly where to position it. And that's quite important because we're going to be applying rather some of our wonderful tiles to this. So we'll just peel that off thus. And that's ready to go. This is by far the easiest way that I know of to apply these tiles. Rather than glue each individual one as you go along, we can just drop them onto the roofs using double-sided tape or the tape roller or PVA, whichever you choose. It's all a matter of choice. People have their preferences. I know I have mine. So let's start. Now, you've got this. Now there are two roofs. One has this little cutaway, and this is the one that you use with the porch. And I'm going to start off here, like that. Now, let's take my scissors, because I don't want to cross over that little gap, because that's quite important later on. So again, we'll attach the other one, like so. And we want to get these overlapping as much as possible. So let's take the second one, and we'll do the same. We're making sure that, so we don't want that too high up. We want it meeting where the little lines are in the roof tiles. We want it to kind of meet there. And again, we'll stick that down. But now you see where it comes there. Now I could use my scissors, or even better, let's take this craft knife there. So let's cut that gap. That's what I need to do. I need to have that gap clear. And there we have it. And then all I do from there on in, I keep attaching different sets of roof tiles, ensuring that we get that lovely overlap. And that takes me all the way to the top. So we'll do one more just so that we get the idea of where this is going. There we are. So you see, I just keep going all the way up to the top. And then when I get there, I'm going to use one of these. Now this is going to go over the top of the tiles, and that's just going to sit on there, and it's just going to finish it up. It's going to complete it. So that would be my main roof. And I've been a bit hasty here, folks. Let's try that again. This is live, so we can't do take two. There we are. So that's kind of where we're going with that. Slightly different with this one, because what we need to do is attach that tile, then trim to size. So we're following the contours of the roof. So we'll trim that away. Then we'll take another one. And again, we'll get that overlay working. So there's the second one. And again, we'll trim, always following the edge of the roof. So you see, I'm going to build that up again until I get to the top. We'll do one more for luck. And that. Now, we're going to use one of our rooftops again. But this is slightly different, because what I want to do is take this rooftop. So imagine I've done both sides now. And then I'll put that rooftop on. And then all I'm going to do is that. So there you go. That is ready to go. Well, it would be if I completed it, but we're going to use our imagination a little bit because you don't want to sit there and watch me sticking roof tiles. Once we've done the first couple, I think you folks get the idea. But that's where we're going with that. Now, in terms of putting on the roof, there is a knack to this. What you want to do, where that gap is, that's where it sits behind the porch. See how that works? Isn't that clever? So I'm going to start off by applying hot glue just to these front tabs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then once that's in place, we need to work quite quickly because of course hot glue, as great as it is and as permanent as it is, it does dry rather quickly. So that is the front of the roof done. Now the back, for the back, I'm going to apply glue to the other tabs. 1, 2, and 3. And then by simply closing that down, and that's my roof on the main structure. But of course we've got the porch. So what we need to do is apply glue to those 2 tabs and simply slide that into place. Wow, that was quick. Isn't that great? And that is the main structure. And I know when I first made the walls, it looked quite flimsy, but now once it's all in place, it's really quite robust. So let's talk about the mansion roof. We'll take, this is the one, or similar to the one that we cut earlier. And again, to put this together, this is the main structure or the tower of the mansion. What I'm going to do is apply a little glue thus and simply close that up, ensuring that it's parallel. And there we have it. That, my friends, is that. Now, you'll notice that we've got 2 tabs at the front and 1 there. That is where I'm going to apply my glue. And you'll notice once it's in place, it sits, this V in the front, sits beautifully over our porch. So we simply press that down like so. So the 2 glued tabs attach to the porch and then 1 to the back there. And that's it. And it's starting to shape up now. So that's the mansion. Now the roof. Now this is the tricky bit. Well, it's not tricky, it's fun, but there's a few tips that I can share to show you how to get the best out of it. Now, because the way die cutting works, what I need to do, you see where these little things are, I need to snip in between them. I find this works best, so take a pair of scissors, snip in between, because with die cutting you can't go right up to that edge. So we need to bring in our scissors at this point. So those are those tabs, bent around. So I've done the same with this one. And I'm going to do the same with these 2 also. Oh, they're already done. What am I talking about? There you go. I'm ahead of myself for once. There we are, and we'll fold down these tabs on the top as well, because these tabs, this is where our rooftop is going to sit. So we'll get those folded down in place and just fold these tabs back. Now, for applying those roof tiles, again, I'm going to use this time. Let's take my lovely tape runner, permanent adhesive roller, I should say, and let's get some of that on there. So that's all in place. I'm going to take some roof tiles now. I want to make sure it overhangs the base, thus. And then what I want to do, as I put each one on, I want to cut conforming to the contours of this roof. And you'll see it is slightly curved, and there is a reason for that. So we're following that curve. Then the next one, we'll take 1 more. And again, because we put the glue on there, so we'll take that next one. And again, following the curve. as we did before, we'll press that into place and we'll just trim along that curve. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You can use a craft knife if you wish, but you can see how that's starting to shape up now. Now, putting this together. Let's see, I'll make sure I get some glue all along those little tabs which we bent back. And then what I need to do is curve these slightly, because the shape that it forms, and this is one where hot glue definitely comes in handy. So you can see that gentle, it's so clever the way this has been designed. Kudos to Tim, only he could think of something like this. So we'll take the next one and put that in place, again making sure we maintain that lovely curve. Then the last one, so again, bit of glue all the way around. I know that we've had some comments, some of you asking what are the best ways to put this roof together? What are the best ways to complete the tower of the mansion? And this is the best way that I've found. And believe me, folks, I've done quite a few of these. So I know where I'm going with this. And see how it forms a kind of a bell. So it's wide at the base, narrow at the top. And that's because of the way that we've put this together. Then those tabs that we folded over earlier, this is where our rooftop comes in. And there is a separate die which cuts this. And you see how that fits perfectly there. So we'll apply the glue before attaching that roof in place. Again, it doesn't have to be absolutely spot on perfect. You can see there's a little gap there. That's fine, that's not a problem, because once these are painted up afterwards, it's going to look fabulous. Now, do you remember these guys? This is the detailing for the roof. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply some glue. This is probably where PVA would be better, because we don't want any residual glue, quite frankly. But I'm going to place that across there thus. And then we're going to come across this side. And then, hey presto, so we do two of those, we go all the way around, and that completes that lovely detail. Now, so let's put this in place. Let's pop this onto our mansion, and I'm going to put some glue. Now, it doesn't matter if I add a bit too much glue, because it's going to be hidden, quite frankly. So we'll slot that onto the mansion. Perfect fit. As always, let's look at it from this direction so I can make sure that's in. Wow, there you go. So that's it, it's starting to shape up. That's the main structure. Now there are a few things missing. Obviously, you know, we've got the window frames, which with a little bit of PVA I could add to there. Also this window frame, you know, we've got one on the front there, we can add them like so. But I want to get now what you can do, you can add a porch to the front of this. And I've got one which is pre-cut and pre-folded. And I've got some doors with the detailing in them, which are also ready to go. And I'm going to apply a little bit of glue to the front of there. As you can see, I am sort of rushing through this for your benefit. I would be taking a lot more care and attention, and these would be pre-painted in many cases also. But this is just about the construction. This is about my little hints and tips, the best way to actually do that. So there's the porch. We've got tabs. We've got 4 tabs. These attach it to the walls of the house, and these two here just where the porch roof comes out. So I'm going to apply a little bit of glue there, and we're going to stick that in place like so. So that, again, that's another level of wonderful detail which we've got in our house. Now, chimneys, remember I said we need to cut 2 small. 2 short fat and 2 tall thin chimneys. Now, with the chimneys, very, very straightforward, very simple. These are the chimneys. You just need to fold it along the tabs and then put that little strip of card across the top. Because what I'm going to do is just blob a glue there, and then this is one of my favorite bits. You just push that into place. Wow, how easy was that? Similarly with the tall thin chimney, we're going to slot that in the center of the short fat one, push it into place, and there it is. Wonderful, wonderful detail. Well done, Mr. Holtz, for coming up with that. That's quite delightful. It really is. So in terms of construction, that's it. I would normally do this in black card or craft card, but white card shows up so much better. Now, we were talking about texture, and I said that I'm not going to use any of my embossing folders. But what I am going to use is crystal glaze, or rather crystal paste. I've got the wrong lid on this. It should be crystal paste. Silly Pete. Because this is wonderful for snowy effects. It's wonderful for festive makes. But it also makes a fantastic grit paste. Now, this is dimensional paste. This is Sizzix dimensional paste. And let's take, so this is the house made in black. What I'm going to do with this, see how I'm just scraping that on like that and dabbing that back into it. This is just going to create nice texture. And that's what I want when I do my dry brushing over the top. I want to get that texture going on. So just with this lovely dimensional, and it dries relatively quickly actually, especially when you put it on thin like this. Now, the crystal paste, as I said, it does have glitter in it, and it creates kind of a grit effect. So you can just put it on as random as you please. It looks a bit weird now, but once it's over painted, it's going to look fab. So it's giving these walls a wonderful texture, and that will fit in very much with the whole Halloween vibe. So let's put the top. So remember, the Sizzix dimensional paste and crystal paste, not crystal glaze, Pete, not crystal glaze. Okay. Yeah, be very careful putting the lids back on these. So that's going to dry, and what's going to happen is we're going to end up with something like this. So you can see where I've chosen to put some of this glaze, some of this paste, and we're getting all that detail there. And that's how I want it before overpainting. Now, I would overpaint this with either a dark brown or a dark charcoal grey, or even black. And this is the kind of thing. Now, can you see that texture just coming through there? There you go. That's what I want, because I want it to look old. I want it to look distressed. I want it to look every inch a Halloween mansion. And what I'm going to do now is just take my craft mat. Let's push these to one side for a second. Take my craft mat, and I'm going to apply some acrylic. I'm using just matte acrylics for this. So let's put these onto the mat like so. So we'll take the grey, and that's going to be my base colour. We'll take that brown, and finally a green, and this hopefully is going to give me a kind of a Halloweeny vibe. I painted it already with like it's a dark brown. So this is when we talk about dry brushing quite a bit. It's a technique that I like to use, particularly with these hands. And you can see that I'm taking most of the paint off the bristles of this brush, because what I want it to do, I just want it to pick up that texture. Can you see where that crystal paste and where that dimension paste are doing their job? So these lines, that's all your dimension paste. All these little rough spots, that is your crystal paste. So we're going to go in there, come a bit heavier now. So remember, I'm going to say it, I say it all the time, but I'm going to say it again. You can always add more. You can never take it away. So start off light and work it up. Don't be tempted to do it all at once. Let's go over the front where we've actually got our window frame. and see the effect that it has there. So you can see I'm flashing this back and two. I'm not pressing too hard, just nice and light. And there we are, just picking up all that grungy detail. So already it's starting to look kind of spooky, folks, I've got to be honest with you. Let's take a bit more here. We'll brush it. This time I'm going a bit heavier so you can see the difference. But don't worry if you get streaks. It's fine because you're going to go over this with other colours in a second. And there we are. So that grey over that deep brown really is something. Before I carry on, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Mr. Charlie Bull, who is holding that camera steady as a rock. There's quite a lot of skill involved in it actually, so there's certainly a lot of strength. And he's nothing if not strong, is our Charlie. So there you go. So that's it. That's how we pick up that lovely texture. Look at that texture coming through. See what I mean? Just applying that texture paste, the dimensional paste and the crystal paste in a random fashion really does bear fruit. So I'm going to take a little of this brown. Doesn't matter if I'm using the same brush. Doesn't matter at all. It's just when you start to add different tones, it really starts to look more kind of natural. So I'm just localizing this. I'm not going over the whole thing. Just a bit here, a bit there, picking up different areas. And we'll come around this side. So imagine that the whole house was painted in this brown and the greys, and it looks particularly spectacular when we go over the top of those roof tiles as well. That is something else. So there you go. Just certain areas, not the whole thing. And finally, there's the green. Now this looks a bit strong, but I'm mixing it in with the brown, and I'm using it sparingly. And that's the trick. But it's the green that really gives it that kind of weathered, dilapidated, crusty, organic kind of vibe. Wow, this is looking fabulous. It really is. I'm not taking credit for that, by the way, folks. It's just all of these techniques are quite simple. So don't be afraid if you see the finished house and think, oh, I could never do that. I think I've just illustrated just how easy it is to get these results. And then look at that. Look at that. Isn't that fab? All that lovely detail in there. It really does look cool. Now let's go back. Let's rewind to the beginning of our presentation and take a look at the finished house. You can see that dry brushing technique. You can see there's the one that I use the paste. This one I use a different kind of technique. But see what I mean about these roof tiles when you dry brush them like that. The way that the dark underpainting really comes through the chimneys, everything, that lovely window frame there, the windows at the bottom. It's just quite something really, really special. And that, my friends, is that. That was quite a long one, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. It's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, this set. This is just one of many different houses you can make. There are lots of lives out there. Josh has done some fantastic things with these as well. A big up to Tim for coming up with this wonderful, wonderful set. And as I always say, if you want to see some wonderful examples of these, go to Tim's website. Go to timholtz.com. See some of the things that his makers have been doing, and oh my goodness, they are truly spectacular. You'll get lots of ideas, lots of inspiration. But for more inspiration from us, go to sizzix.co.uk, or if you're in the US, sizzix.com. I really enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me. I'll